All right. Well, it looks like we were bugged there. Bit of a bummer. I think we've got up most of the people who were speaking before. Maybe we can round it out with the folks who are here and asking some questions. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you, Pete.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Oof, X.
Right when I was praising Bitcoin Treasuries in there,
Oh,
just
yeah. I know. We were hoping to use that as marketing collateral, and here it goes. Well, I think we've got Eddie back here, and at least we were chatting with Eddie, so maybe we can pick that back up as people file in.
Yeah, thanks for having me back up. Yeah, I mean, Will was cooking right there when the space went down, but we'll just blame it on Elon. Elon's SpaceX. We always have issues with the spaces, so it's easy just to go ahead and
He's got
force
his
the blame
mind
in.
on other things, I guess, right? He's got
Yeah, I think we were talking about the quarter over quarter Bitcoin distortion price. So, it's like in the long term, we know where Bitcoin's going, but in a 3 month period, Bitcoin could end at 80K and then in the next 3 months end at above 100K. And it's a complete shift in the paradigm of like how traditional stocks are usually viewed. It's usually up only, any pullback, any weird stuff going on quarter over quarter is a red flag. But for a Bitcoin treasury company, it ends up being uh, volatility is opportunity type of thing. So I think that's where we were
how is
going.
that different though than just I mean, most companies have exposure to different asset classes, right? That are going up and down, like different. They own like different indexes, and I imagine some own gold. I would imagine, right? Like, isn't there analogs for that?
You,
I
you
think,
know, oh, go ahead, Will.
yeah, no, I think to Eddie's point, we have never, the Bitcoin's volatility to some extent is kind of unmatched, and so you will get these massive drawdowns or spikes. We could have ended, a given quarter could have ended in the last 2 days having a 20, 30, 20% drawdown. And now all these companies have a very different earnings that's coming out all of a sudden because of that drawdown. Now, anyone who's actually following it and has a long-term view of their Bitcoin holdings, that doesn't phase anybody at all. But it certainly will scare in the algorithms and uninformed traders.
Oh, I see. The idea is you're basically just judged by this one random snapshot, and so if it's just like there's a crash that day for whatever reason, that's your quarterly result that you have to live
Correct. Correct.
with. Okay, yeah,
And
that's a
the
yeah.
this is and it's one that because all the fair value of your Bitcoin is being recorded in such a way, it also it gets put in with all the other operating metrics that are cash flows or that happens in the company. This is why miners, or many miners I should say, never broke it out, because once they were in a kind of an up only Bitcoin phase, it kind of hid some of the sins of the operating model a little bit. And so again, it just can be used, that volatility can be used strategically in many many ways. And so I think for us it's just like that's getting known. The more and more people are understanding this trade and what the time frame is. And yes, there are going to be traders who take advantage of those short dips that they know will have an effect on the earnings. But at the end of the day, many are looking out years and where they're going. And I think that was never actually, there was a great space with like Josh Mandel and Rye Quant the other day, and it's just one is looking at it from a pure quarter by quarter trader perspective, and the other is kind of a long term Bitcoiner. And there's opportunities for both once public companies start getting heavy bags of Bitcoin.
Yeah, maybe this is unrelated or related, but I guess I'll ask anyway. I was looking at ProCap. Anthony Pompliano's firm had an announcement today, but it was something to do with the amount of shares that people get in the company based on the Bitcoin price the day they invest, or something like that. It was almost like trying to sync up like the daily Bitcoin price windows with just Wall Street reporting requirements. Is that kind of a similar thing that we're talking about here?
I don't quite know. I'm going to look what this is, but what's happening right now is you have a lot of these SPACs who haven't, you know, they haven't de-SPACed yet. And so, people are looking at how much Bitcoin they hold, and they're looking at how many outstanding shares of that specific company, and then they come up with some type of Bitcoin per share metric or some type of way of understanding it's MNAV essentially. But what they're often missing is that outstanding shares does not include anything of the shares that will be added to that company post de-SPAC, and the investors in the shell today will ultimately hold a very small percentage of the total company post de-SPAC, which changes all of the math. And this is where there's so much arbitrage opportunity, it's for better or for worse, unfortunately, where a lot of these things aren't just the retail is not quite totally grokked it all yet, and it comes with consequences. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how the next 6 months play out as some of these big SPAC plays come to market. And there was a lot of excitement ahead, and then there's gonna be a reckoning, but we'll come out the other side, and things will start to settle. But it just goes to show there's so much beyond how much Bitcoin you have at play. There's total outstanding shares. There's where it is in terms of how long it's been a public company. What tools do they have at their exposure? All of this is going to help people understand the value and the opportunity. But it's really right now something that is pretty advanced inside baseball, and a lot of people don't have it, and the conversations aren't often about it.
Well, we'll get them going in the spaces and time. Conscious of time here, we've got a couple of people who wanted to ask questions. Reminder: if you want to ask questions, we're talking to one of the great CEOs in the Bitcoin space right now, so feel free to just hit that request button, come up to the stage. Brittany's been waiting for a while. Brittany, how are you doing? Welcome to the spaces, and interested in your question.
Thank you so much for hosting. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Well, so great to be speaking with you. I do have two questions. First question, will we be seeing Fold have any presence at the Bitcoin Treasuries conference September 17th in New York?
So our GC and head of legal and compliance, Haley Lennon, I believe, is going to be a host at the Bitcoin Treasury conference. Unfortunately, I will be called to a different part of the world then, so we're kind of dividing and conquering. But love everything that they're doing over there, and I think I'd absolutely say go up and say hi to say hi to Haley.
Absolutely, we'll definitely be tapping in with Haley. My second question, the credit card rollout. I wonder how that's going. Will app users be preferred, or are you going by the wait list? What can we see from that?
So obviously we updated the market. There was unfortunately we had one of our critical partners was acquired by a very large company, and they proceeded to shut down the offering. And so right at the finish line, we had to pivot. But I'll say I think a lot more information is going to come up over earnings and over the next quarter. That is, I think, going to show that the program is absolutely is imminent and definitely on track. And number, I think, best of all, is going to be better for it. And so the way we're going to bring people on, we'll be taking a mix of both the wait list. We've a lot of people want a lot of Bitcoin from climbing that wait list, so we're going to respect that. And then also our long-term users will also get priority access.
Thank you so much for answering. Do we have any sneak peeks of any products that will be shipping soon, or anything that you can tell us about that?
With earnings right around the corner, we got to save a lot of that for then. Unfortunately, it's not as fun being a public company anymore as it was being a private company where we get to talk, about literally whatever. So I'm learning to restrain myself, and I'm going to make my lawyers happy for doing so in this moment.
Okay, that was a
Yeah,
test. Just kidding.
different world. Thanks, Brittany, for the questions. I think we've got one more person, John, who's maybe on the private side of kind of the Bitcoin company equation. John, how are you doing?
Oh, well, I'm only on like floor 45 with a 40-pound vest on. So hopefully I don't sound too out of breath. But, well, what's up, dude? It's good seeing you in Vegas. I guess like
Absolutely, John.
the question I'd have for you would be the same question I'd probably ask you privately. Like, framework, stacking sats. I'm not sure if we told you about it or how much you know, but I'm working on going public. Would love any broad advice from a longtime friend and Bitcoiner. And I'm gonna go on mute so my breath isn't overtaking your answer.
So I've been able to follow at the outset of stacking sats, I'm very excited about it because I think to me it points to what I believe the future of Bitcoin treasury companies are. We're definitely going to see the market, come up with a few behemoths that really operationalize and the capital transactions and capital markets plays, aggressively following and differentiating against Saylor's strategy. It's unclear how many of them there actually can be in any given market. So what we're going to see is an absolute explosion of Bitcoin treasury companies that have great growing businesses like yours, John, and that are stacking sats behind the scenes. And I think that one of the best examples of this is very quietly in the background, Figma filed for an IPO. Not one element of their marketing is around, hey, they hold 70 million plus of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Might be more than that, I forget. They just hold it because it makes sense. They believe in the asset. They believe it's a superior store of value. And you're going to see a lot more companies like that. I think stacking sats is a great example of that new wave. Now, going public is a thing that is going to require an investment in a major investment on a couple fronts, both your time and focus, your ownership of a company and your shareholders ownership, and then obviously cost. And so I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. You're seeing a lot of companies today. There's reverse mergers, there's SPACs, there's traditional IPOs, and all of them come with certain drawbacks and some benefits. And so it's really personal on which path is right for you. And I think one of the ways to look at it is the way that we looked at it is Fold has been kind of tried through the kind of crucible of Bitcoin bear and bull markets. We have gone and operated at the depth of bear markets for years on end, grown through them. We've operated in the euphoria of bull markets. But we do know that we are, to some extent, ruled by these cycles. And going public is a process that requires kind of a longer timeline. And so you also want to make sure that you're able to shoot the gap into the markets at the right time. And again, that just, I think, goes into the calculus of what the right path is for you. Typically a SPAC or a reverse merger are going to be help you manage the timeline a little bit easier, but they come with other drawbacks. And so I think it's super, super personal. And John, I'm obviously always here and ready to speak more privately about your specific situation on where you could go.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Super helpful. I mean, a lot of what you just mentioned, a lot of the things